course.
In one interview in the U.S. with one international media, you said, quote, "I'm here to put Thailand back on the United States and the international radar." Do you think Thailand is still invisible on regional and international stage, given that Prime Minister Sethar went to United States in September for UNGA, UN General Assembly. In October, he went to Middle East for regional summit with, of course, Saudi Arabia and other countries there. So Thailand is still uninfluential on regional stage and international stage, correct?
We have done better, and we could have done better also. So what I'm trying to differentiate for you is that, of course, international trips are good, but the ability to follow up, to have mutual benefit of influence. Your question, the key word of your question was influence. What's influence? Influence is the ability to get someone to do what you want, whether through cooperation or coercion. In the word, you see a lot of coercion as well, and also cooperation. Well, in order for someone to cooperate with you in foreign policy, you have to have the legitimacy. You know, foreign policy is the reflection of domestic policy. If you want to be part of the international rights community, it's something that you have to clean your own house before you go do it. To have an influence in foreign direct investment, where we're going to come, you have to understand the new international foreign direct investment climates, where it's not just going to be just tax exemption for the next 8 years and we'll be okay, because there's international tax mechanism that doesn't allow that countries to do that anymore. It's about factor of production, it's about workforce, it's about the ability to get involved in the international new supply chain. So if someone were to come here, they need a workforce that speaks both English and Chinese, and some people who will be able to integrate into the semiconductor complex supply chain right away. And that could be either Vietnam or could be Thailand or could be Malaysia. The size of the market, 66 million people versus 100 in Vietnam. So there's no shortcuts to it. When you want to say that Thailand means business and Thailand is back, is way much more than international trips. However, if it were me, of course, international trips are important, but off a very, very constructive and detailed agenda of what we have to offer to them and what we can get in return from them. So in order to take care of the problems within our country, so such as fertilizer prices has been high, inflation prices has been high. We import 90%. Such as transboundary haze, PM 2.5, that is coming from neighboring parties. That's probably something that is very important. Flash floods and wildfires has been around for God knows how long. Australia is pretty good at this. Sweden is pretty good at this. So instead of going to countries based on my preference, I would have my list of priorities or problems in this country or potentials, and I would follow to them. Or Morocco is pretty good when it comes to fertilizer production. They have had some good relationship with us also. Instead of just relying on India and the gas from Russia-Ukraine conflict, then I would try to diversify them so that if next times the problem like this happens again, then I know how to diversify my risk, and agenda-based, not country-based.
So actually, you just talk about my questions about FCI, but I will ask you again.
Okay.
Presentation is good for, of course, a country to go to an international stage like you and other summit, but pragmatic cooperation, is what you said, with other countries is the key, and policy too.
Exactly.
Next question, I think people seen in the world so much tensions in Europe, Ukraine, Russia, in Middle East. Right now we've seen Hamas and Israel. You talk about Myanmar too, of course, junta-led government makes a lot of difficulties for neighboring countries, for Thailand, of course for China too. Some experts say that Taiwan is the next potential conflict point. How can Thailand strengthen its influence, influence on international stage, regional stage too? What are move forward stances on these issues? Because this show ideology from you and move forward too.
First, we have to think of us as a middle power country and not a younger brother to anyone. Second is that we really need to return to the foundation of ASEAN centrality, at least the 5 founding members, to really realize the potential of and the reason of existence of why ASEAN was established in the first place. With that two combined, that's only the pre-context, the preamble, that we have a sizable amount of influence to the world. You know, like if it was only Thailand who wanted to voice something, I would argue it would be very hard to get heard just by speaking on our behalf or on our own thinking. We could vote in the UN resolutions and things like that, which is also very important. We don't abstain on things that we're supposed to be vocal about. You know, that's also a sideline issue. But if you were to propose something to the world, if it was just Thailand alone, among all these global noises, you're not going to be heard. You know. Also, you know, if you're not part of the ASEAN centrality, and what I mean by centrality specifically is reliance, relevance, and credibility. You know, if you asked, there was a survey asking people all around ASEAN whether ASEAN is still relevant to them, is still meaningful to them. And in Thailand, I think that the survey was asking a university student, a younger generation of Thais, Jula Longkorn, but you have to fact check me whether I'm correct or not. And the result that came out, we're at the lowest. We felt like ASEAN means nothing to us, and any other countries are not so good except for maybe Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, for example. So in order for us to remain relevant together, you know, internally, as well as to the world, and credible. So, you know, everybody knows 5-point consensus. All the media outlets and anchors have been reporting 5-point consensus for 3-4 years now. But it never materialized. It has to be turned into a 5-year roadmap where we all come together, and Thailand is a core part of that. You know, we hear the Foreign Affairs Minister of Singapore on his speech a couple of days ago, you know, Malaysians, Indonesians from time to time. And when I meet them in person, together with the former special envoy, you know, also Vice Chancellor at the time was Derek Chollet from America at the time. Okay, it was talking about 5-point consensus and this and that. We need to help them soon. Typhoon is coming up. Let's do something about it. You know, America is going to pass the Burma Act, but or even the Moki sanction, the financial sanction that happened last week while I was in Washington D.C. to stop financial transactions from Ministry of Gas and Energy in Myanmar, for example. Whether that would be enough pressure, as well as finding incentives for the people of Myanmar to come together to a negotiation table and return Myanmar to democracy at their own intention. That's something that is still far apart. But I would definitely argue that if Thailand gets involved because of our border proximity, because of the linkages between economic migrants, the border management, you know, the well-being of the people of Myanmar is also the well-being of Thai people. But I would also argue that if Thailand is not part of that ASEAN centrality cooperation, it's going to be very hard. Departing government last time, I still remember before the election that there was a spat, tit and tat email exchange or letter exchange between Foreign Affairs Thailand and Foreign Affairs Indonesia, if you remember.